Hi everybody, it's Brian and I'm back with a solution set from Fusion 360. I am covering assignment number 3, this funny little revolved top. Some of you picked up that I was missing a dimension. I've added it in here on the drawing, the height of this hole that comes up into the bottom of that. Because this was part of the revolve, obviously this is intended to be a revolved body. Just really quickly looking at the drawing, remember, and maybe you don't know this, but anytime you see these dashed lines, those are called hidden geometry. So those are things that are actually beneath the surface you're looking at. So in the top view, we're looking at the very top of this surface, and so we can see this thing that projects up and the top of this surface. Anything else below that is going to be shown with these dotted lines. So this solid circle in the middle, that's indicating the diameter of this round handle, if you will. This diameter here is indicating the diameter of this hole that comes up from the bottom, and this larger diameter here is indicating the outside dimension of that hole down there. So just keep that in mind as you're starting to look through drawings. The more of these you look at, the better you get at figuring out what you're looking at. So it is you know, if you're an architect, you're gonna look at drawings a lot. If you're a designer and you're making products, you're gonna be looking at drawings a lot. And so you're gonna have to get used to seeing things with hidden lines. So really quick, that's what you need to look for. My mantra for all of these solution sets is the fact that you can ask 3 different people to draw this and they will draw it 3 different ways. So I am choosing to draw it only one of those ways. It's the way that becomes most apparent to me. It doesn't mean it's the only way to draw it. In fact, I'm gearing up to do a demo or a tutorial on the loft feature that'll be posted. Well, I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but I'm going to post it next week for me. This would be a very easy potential loft if you just draw in a bunch of circles on different planes. But you know, that would take a long time to lay all those planes in there. It's going to be much faster to just draw it as an existing body. Here, the line of symmetry here that I'm showing for my section view that's giving me this is also the axis about which I'm going to revolve this section of the geometry. Some people were like, well, you haven't called out the height of this, but I've called out the overall height of this, and the rest of these, the 20 millimeters here, this angle, the 30 millimeters here, and this 275, you don't actually need that height at that stage. So just FYI as you think through that. Yeah, so let's jump into this. So I'm going to open a new tab here. I want this on the front face because I'm going to do that sketch on the front face. Oops, I guess I need to go to a new sketch and do that on the front face. Okay, I'm going to start at the origin point. So I'm going to create the line here. I'm going to draw that bottom. It comes up a little bit. It comes up at an angle. It comes up a little bit. It comes over. It comes up. And then it comes over to here. And then I'm going to bring that back down. So there it is. There's my solid object. All I need to do now is start to add some dimensions to this. So we'll do that. We know that this is 20. Oh, this is going to really mess things up. I should have been paying attention to my heights here. But that's okay. We can start to bring these things up here. So that's 20 millimeters. If we go back to my sketch, I think the total thing is 275. So we'll add that in now. So I'll make this 275. This should hopefully make this a little bit easier moving forward. Again, clicking back here, that's 30. So we'll add that in next. I know that dimension of that angle is 30 degrees, so we'll shoot that in next. So back to my dimension tool, here to here is 30. Okay. And we need some dimensions. So here I'm going to use the centerline dimension. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to click here, I'm going to right click diameter dimension. And I've told you that that diameter dimension is up here, 80. And we have the bigger diameter dimension, which is 275. So I can add that in now. I'm going to do it the same way. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to click this outside line. I'm going to right, whoops, I need to be in the dimension tool. Click this line, click this outside line, right click, diameter dimension. And that's going to be 275. There we go. And we need a dimension for this guy here. And he has been specified as 30 millimeters, so we can go in there and do that as well. So this from here to here, right click, diameter dimension. So we are using that diameter dimension here pretty consistently. So 30 millimeters. And voila, everything is blue. So again, I don't need that height there because that height has been defined by how these dimensions all speak out. So I do want to point this out. Some of you asked this question. If I go in now with my dimension tool and I click on this, right, this is actually some weird number. If I go to click to place that, you're going to get this error message. It's saying adding this dimension will over constrain this sketch. Choose OK to create a driven dimension. So think about this as if you are driving a car. The person in the driver's seat is driving the car. The person in the passenger seat is being driven in the car. So what that means is the person driving, they're in control. So a driven dimension, that dimension is in the passenger seat. That dimension does not have control. It's literally just along for the ride. So if I click OK, it's just going to give me that height, right? It's going to give me in parentheses, meaning it's being driven by all of these other dimensions. All of the rest of these dimensions, they're the ones in the driving seat, right? So they're the ones in control. This one's being driven. So that's why you get that error message that you're going to over constrain the drawing, because this, if you make that any other number, it's going to be fighting with these other dimensions, because it can't be this geometry and have that number be anything other than what it is. So I did just want to take a moment to explain it. So I'm going to delete that because I don't need that. Fully defined sketch. Here, the sketch, I absolutely could have like shortened this line, come over and come down and made that void in the bottom. Again, somebody may have drawn that in and done this in one magical revolve. I just think it's easier to draw that hole in as a separate entity after the fact. So I'm going to call this done. Click finish the sketch. Zoom out here, and I'm going to do a revolve. My profile, it's already selected because there's only one profile. My axis, it's going to be that axis. I'm going to go 360 degrees, click OK. That gets me 99% of the geometry, and then I have that hole that is down here that goes into the bottom of that. And that has a diameter of, what did I specify? 40. And it goes up 50. That was the dimension I was missing, so I apologize to you in the assignment. You didn't know how deep that hole is. It is 50 millimeters deep. So that for me is just a quick sketch. So I'm going to revolve my object around, create a sketch on that bottom surface. There it is, circle. I'm going to hover over the edge, come to the middle. Well, actually, it's already the origin point, so I guess it doesn't matter. Click on that. I'm going to make that a diameter of 40. Finish the sketch. So that's a really simple sketch, and that's why I chose to do it that way. Extrude. I'm going to click on that surface. I'm going to go in, which is going to default it to a cut. Oh, I stopped at 50. That's where I wanted to be, and I click OK. This now creates that full geometry. So hopefully that was as clear as mud to all of you. Should not take long to generate that geometry if you do it as one quick revolve with that little extrude. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that answers any questions you might have about how to approach drawing this, or at least how I approach drawing this. One thing I will say is you could probably do this with a series of extrudes. I could have drawn a circle and extruded it. I could have drawn another circle and extruded it. I could have drawn this circle and tapered it down like I showed you in that magic extrusion video to this point, and then extrude this down to there, and then do that extrude cut. So totally possible to do it with extrusions. That's a lot of different sketches. Much easier to approach it with a revolve. Okay, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in another video. Bye.